Basically, Radicals came to Barbados, and I happened to race the Festival of Speed, which Lewis Hamilton happened to be down there. And I rented a Radical, which Guyana was represented by myself and Calvin Ming. And it just so happened that I performed well. I had a few victories down there, and Radical of itself came to me and gave me an offer to race on the Radical Works team, in which I raced for 2 years straight. And yeah, that's where I am today. Well, the first season was in 2017, and the aim was to finish in the top 10. There's about 9 different tracks, a completely different layout, some being ex-Formula 1 tracks, and the modern era traditional tracks like Brands Hatch, Silverstone, Spa, which was my favorite track in particular. It was very challenging throughout the year. 2017, as I said, top 10 was the goal, and we finished 5th in the championship, in which I was the number 2 driver on the team. And for the 2018 year, I was bumped up to the number 1 driver, which, because of funding, I almost didn't get to complete the entire series. But my dad was like, you know, you have an opportunity as the number 1 driver to win the championship. Let's see what we can do. And the deal I had, because I have no sponsors on board, is out of our own pocket, was if I finish top 5 every race, I'll continue the series. So I had to make sure I was in the top 5 every single race. So it was a little bit of pressure, but we made it happen. We were on the podium of, I think, 9 of the 10 tracks. There's only one track, which is, I think, Brands Hatch, where we had a bad incident, and we didn't finish in the top 5. But we're in the top 3 hunt within the entire year, and we finished 4th in the championship. Bittersweet, because Silverstone did a lot of construction to the track, in which the drainage was really bad, and they had to cancel the last 2 races due to rain. Too much, the track didn't drain enough, so they just canceled it. So we ended up 4th in the championship. Well, my favorite track is Spa. There's a particular corner called Eau Rouge, in which you're going downhill in 6th gear flat out, and the approach to the corner, like if you don't take the first corner right, it messes up the entire rhythm. And right there in that section is, you got to hold half a second within you if you don't get it right.
Run down towards Eau Rouge, and Bourne's determined to go for it. He draws alongside Kristian Jeffrey. Brave stuff from both of them. Jeffrey, though, able to ease back into position.
So it was a big challenge, because coming from Guyana, where there's not really aero tracks, not even Guyana alone, around the Caribbean, you're dealing with high speed, so it teaches you to use the car in every way at max speed, and that was my biggest challenge throughout the year, especially when you're driving really close behind the person. You really got to change up your line, because the car tends to understeer when you're behind a person in the dirty air. So I, as a driver, had to learn to adapt to driving really close behind with the aero grip.
Got Jerome de Seidler, I would suggest, beginning to edge towards them, because the last lap for de Seidler was a 2 minutes 28.0. Kristian Jeffrey a good couple of tenths quicker. Stuart Mosley a good couple of tenths quicker again relative to Kristian Jeffrey. So this could be quite an intriguing battle as Mosley settles into the toe behind Kristian Jeffrey towards Blanchimont. It's a brave man who overtakes into Blanchimont.
Least favorite trap, I won't say all the tracks over there are nice, but I just don't have luck at Brands Hatch for some reason. It's a very tight track, and I was always getting taken out in lap after lap, well, year after year, because it's always a bunch up. Track's very narrow, and if you're in a pile of 6 people, 6 drivers together, and 2 guys not up, you don't really have any room to go anywhere. So I was always in a lucky position. All right, so for 2018, my highest point was definitely when I was bumped up to top 3 in the championship. I was racing against guys that did F4, F2 at the highest level, and I was consistently in the top 5, but I just felt they had an edge on me, and I ended up having to get a drive coach, a personal drive coach, which made a huge impact in my driving. And I literally have a session, and as I come off track, there's no time to talk to my dad or discuss, you know, anything. My drive coach would come to me and break everything down into detail. And a lot of stuff I had to change. For instance, in 2017, I was driving with braking with my right foot. I had to learn to switch to braking with the left foot, which I'm now doing the same in my Evo because I have a paddle. And that helped me a lot with balancing in corners and stuff like that. It was a struggle, but the biggest struggle was having, as I said earlier in the interview, dealing with the aero grip. The top 5 drivers are able to position their car when they're behind cars and race wheel to wheel, where I had the tendency to, because of the understeer, I was giving them a gap and I would have to catch them back. So it's just the ability to snap on a bit earlier and making it happen. And I think I got the puzzle done at the end. And it's just unfortunate, you know, you're playing catch up all year. And the struggle the most was that these guys would do a lot of testing a week before the race meets. I'd reach in due to work the Thursday before the race meet, and I have 1 hour on track. And in that hour, if there's a red flag, I only got 5 laps on the track to learn the track. And in that 5 laps, I gotta set up my car, and that's how you're racing for the entire weekend. So what I would find throughout the weekend, the last race, I would be the quickest or second quickest. So it goes to show, if I had a sponsorship, the time on the track to get to do the testing as much as these guys, I think I have what it takes to be a radical champion.
And the lowest point of 2018, which would have been maybe a worse race, which was the toughest weekend for you during that season?
The toughest weekend, I think, would be Silverstone, my last weekend. The top 2 guys had acquired enough points to whichever one had won that weekend would have been the radical champion. But the fight became for 3rd place in the championship. And due to the rain, they only had 1 race, in which it was a critical point. I needed, I think, 5 points more or 10 points more to come 3rd in the championship. And I really wanted it, and I didn't get it done. It was just bittersweet end. But it was against guys that potentially are going to race in Le Mans this year and stuff like that. So the caliber of drivers I raced with was really good. And I was just hoping to get the top 3 position, and it was just hampered.
One. Another 40-minute pit stop race here in glorious sunshine at Oulton Park as the sun glistens onto the cars. They've got perfect formation working their way through the final corner, and it's going to be up to the lights to go out before this race can get underway. But Steve Burgess will be the first man to floor it and head down towards Old Hall Corner. Here we go, 40 minutes of racing gets underway now, and again, just like in all the other races so far today, Dominic Jackson makes a blinding start, and so does Kristian Jeffrey. Goes round the outside of Steve Burgess, so not just losing 1 position but down to 3rd place goes the number 2 machine. He's been a double winner so far today here at Oulton Park, and now Jerome de Sadelier looks around the outside through Cascades as it's headed through. There's Elliot Goodman, number 28, being chased here by Kristian Jeffrey. Kristian has had a few podiums this year, but still searching for that first win of 2018. Could it possibly come here today at Oulton Park? Who knows? He's been very, very quick, but at the minute just languishes behind Elliot Goodman and struggles to find his way through back in May. And Mark yet to have a podium this year as well, as Kristian Jeffrey looks for a move on Elliot Goodman. He gets to the inside line there. Is there going to be contact between the two? No, but they rub very, very close there as they come through Lodge Corner. I think Kristian Jeffrey has just made that move done then as they come across the line to complete another lap, and Kristian Jeffrey does go through, but that has been a long time coming. But, race win, Dominic Jackson, his 5th of the year. Next up, Kristian Jeffrey there in what's going to be second place, third place for Jerome de Sadelier and Mark. So there we go, some happy drivers on the podium here at Oulton Park.
Alright, after completing the European Radical Series, we headed back to Guyana for CMRC. Basically, it was the first radical race in Guyana.
Yep.
Right? You also stepped into your Group 4 car and it didn't work. Walk us through the weekend.
Well, the weekend, even more than the radical, because I didn't get to race the Evo for the entire year, I actually was looking forward to that the most. I mean, in terms of the competition, I was looking forward to racing against the Focus once more. Guys like David Somerville, Kyle Gregg, and them, Doug Gore with his new car, but they didn't come, and that was just unfortunate. But having said that, I ended up with some mechanical failures with my differential. The car, we had placed a paddle shift system in, because I never had a blipper in it, so meaning I was driving the old school tradition heel and toe, while other drivers with sequential box would just downshift a gear, which would help a tenth or two in longer tracks, especially like Barbados. And with the paddle shift system, I was able to pick up a half a second. I think I was on lap record time, lap record pace. I ran into Vishuk Prasad while he was encountering problems, and I still crossed the line at 33.3, which the lap record is 33.2. And right after that lap, the differential gave out, so that was the end of the weekend. But after going through the car, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. But because we had 3 cars to deal with, we just decided to focus on the radical. The Evo is back up and ready to go to 2019, so I'll be doing some testing in January early to get that going.
The radical race now, walk us through the radical race.
The radical race, we got the radical, but it's an entirely different radical to what I race in Europe. It's an older type, and we seem to have a gearbox problem in which we just had to nurse the car for an entire weekend. There were problems with my dogs in the box, so if you watch my starts, I would be either top 3 and then end up all the way at the back. So I wasn't getting second gear. But luckily in our track that you don't really go down to second gear. You're mostly in third, is the lowest gear you go through, but it was really nice to have the Radical Series here with the local guys, racing against Calvin for the first time for the year, and let Guyana see, you know, the talent we have down here. And it goes to show that, I mean, I'm racing in Europe, the level up there is high, I'm in the top 5. I think we have other drivers capable of being top 10.
It must be agonizing for Kristian Jeffrey to be so close to Calvin Ming, but cannot get by. The last lap board is out. If Kristian Jeffrey is pushing, this is the lap to do it. Here he comes. Kristian Jeffrey not closely looking into the first part. He's going to go really late on the brake. Yes, he's really on the brake. Kristian Jeffrey through turn 1 as he goes into 2 again. Very late on the brake. There with Calvin Ming. He can absolutely reach out and touch the back bumper of Calvin Ming's Radical. Oh, Kristian Jeffrey goes by! Kristian Jeffrey goes by on turn 3 of the last lap of the last race. Let's see. It is Kristian Jeffrey who will take checkered flag number 2. It's really, really exciting race by 2 very professional drivers in P1, P2. So once again, P1, P2 taken by Team Guyana. And so congratulations, Kristian Jeffrey and young Calvin Ming coming in second in this.
We raced against Calvin Ming once again, Colin Daly, Zos Carton, and your cousin Stefan. Walk us through what was the final race for you for 2018.
I think for go-karting, it was the highlight of my year. Like the last year, Colin and Stefan, they got me. My car had a lot of glitches, and I didn't really get to give them the competition that I needed to give them. So this year I was out to get them. It just happened that we came back from Mexico, so I thought it would be a bit rusty. But I was exercising while I was there, so I was smart and stuff. And every time he's sleeping in, I'd get up in the morning and do a bit of running, go to the gym and stuff like that, which I think helped because I didn't really suffer with fitness. And once I had the pace, I knew I could give the guys a good run. Colin is a phenomenal driver. You can't get better than that in the Caribbean. Other than Colin, the next guy is Zane Maloney. And I think if there's another driver to come down here and give us competition, it would be him. And the fact that I got to drive against Colin and go wheel to wheel, as a driver, it showed my improvement throughout the year. So I think the Radical Series helped me a lot. And I'm just looking forward to next year now.
All right, so 2019, Kristian Jeffrey for 2019, is he going to be back in the local scene? Is he going to be back in the Caribbean circuit, or are you looking to go back to Europe again?
Well, due to some sponsorship, I can't really get to go to Europe, so I'm going to pick and choose a few races. And it probably will be the European ones like Spa or Spain or something, Catalonia. But in terms of locally and around the Caribbean, I want to try and go for the Caribbean Championship once again. So thanks to Torgnell for coming on board. They really helped me, and even for the last go-kart race, they came and support me, and I can't ask for a better sponsor at the moment.
Alright, in terms of the competition in Group 4 that you're looking at, some guys are purchasing some car that will class as DTM car. So in your local build level, do you think the car have what it takes to win the championship?
I think my focus for the Evo right now is reliability. The car is producing a lot of power, and it's the first time we actually played around with handling, and it's the first time I actually felt I was one complete with the car. It's a car that I spend the most time with, so I know what the potential of the car is. I think in each Caribbean country I could drop a lot more time, and for me, I don't really care what car comes. I like competition, so I use it next year as a gauge to see whether we need to sell the car or whether to keep the Evo and keep it going.
But it is Mark Vera and Kristian Jeffrey. Kristian Jeffrey pulling outside, on the inside, getting rolling low. In the release, Kristian Jeffrey finally falls back to third. Andrew King fourth. Kevin Jeffrey is down in fifth. Off the back straight they go, and Kristian Jeffrey lets that evolution loose and blows by Mark Vera. Kristian Jeffrey now assumes the lead of this race, and Mark Vera second.
I really like to thank most of all my parents. They came out to support me. Due to my father almost being semi-retired, I'm taking up the slack in the business, and because I had to race almost from March all the way to November, I'd have to leave a week. They had to pick up the slack for me, and even my mom had to come out to work and make it happen, and thanks a lot to them. Without them, that wouldn't be possible. The local guys, Neelan, Akeem, Louis, Kumar, thanks for taking my footage and helping me with the media locally and making it happen as well. Torgnell for coming on board lately. A lot of guys in the background don't get the credit as should, but my family in particular, even he's a competitor, but he's now one of the biggest mechanics in Guyana, and I think a lot of people should recognize him more. Stefan, he met with me in Canada, and he did a race in Moss Sport in which he wrenched for me, and through that he met with a guy called Trevor Wickens, Darryl Timmons that came down to Guyana, and these guys, they liked the way, the professionalism which Stefan took the job, and he got offered to race, to do mechanical work all over Canada with a lot of big teams. He was with Prime Power Team, he was with PSL, which is the Burrell factory. He was offered to go with GP, and now that he's got so mechanically inclined, he actually helped me a lot in Guyana with the radical run, which I was suffering a lot with my radical. And without those guys, I wouldn't be able to even be on the podium in Guyana. So thanks to them.